Welcome to sixxgoblin. This is Sabertooth, The Dead Don't Talk Part 2. If you missed Part 1, be sure to check that out first. A quick warning before we start, this video isn't for the squeamish as it features blood, gore, and strong language. Now, without further ado, the last we saw Victor Creed, he'd been working at the Ravencroft Institute for the Criminally Insane, collecting cadavers for Mr. Sinister's twisted experiments. That is, until he crossed paths with 5 Points gang boss Fisk, locked up for his brutality. Fisk wanted out, and Creed, tempted by freedom and the moniker Mad Dog Murphy, broke him loose, leaving Mr. Sinister to discover the entire support staff murdered at Ravencroft. Back on the streets, they waste no time reclaiming Fisk's crew by taking the rival boss, Brick Barton's head. Issue 2 opens to a grim narration. The 5 Points, where NYC sends its poor, its outcasts, freed slaves, Irish and Italian immigrants, packed in tight, living like animals. It was only a matter of time before they banded together, before they fought back. That's when the era of the gangs began. We then get a glimpse of the gangs that ruled the streets. First, the street gangs, the Dead Rabbits, the Bowery Boys, the Plug Uglies, and the Yancey Street Gang. Tough, dangerous, but no different from the gangs popping up across the country. Then came the ones who weren't so regular. The Sons of New Amsterdam, the first masked criminals. They hid their faces to prey on the vulnerable. Then, eventually, everyone. Next, the Franken Gang, stitched together from graveyard corpses and victims. Then the Street Sorcerers Supreme, the Shockers, and finally the Night Flyers, a ghastly gang of Victorian-era vampires. The 5 Points had already been a supernatural battleground long before Sabertooth arrived. The gangs had run wild for years and likely would have kept ruling the streets. That is until Mad Dog Murphy came to town. We see here Victor Creed rolling up his sleeves as he creeps up on 2 gang members already fighting each other. You can see he's savoring the kill before it even begins. Then he strikes, driving his hand up through the man's jaw as another's hangs half torn in the background. He tears through the crowd, blood spraying, heads rolling. Grabbing a Street Sorcerer Supreme by the throat, he crushes another gangster's head like a zit, with the narration driving it home. Nothing was the same after that. Victor Creed, now Mad Dog Murphy, stands amidst the carnage, drenched in blood, surrounded by the torn apart remains of his enemies, and you can see the city shaken from how current events are playing out in the news. Fear in the 5 Points, 7 more gangsters dead, violence at an all-time high. The headlines scream it loud and clear. Things are spiraling out of control fast. But even with the streets filled with blood, some people just can't help but to poke the bear. Adventurer Marmaduke Dix is set to promote a Coney Island exhibit right in the heart of the 5 Points, literally daring anyone to try something. And we just know Marmaduke's going to end up eating those words. The question is how badly. And finally, the exhibit will feature Nicola Vanko and his incredible Metal Man armor, which has got to be an obvious relation to Anton and Ivan Vanko. In Fisk's office, a pile of severed, rotting green hands hits his newspaper with a wet slap. Victor Creed grins. You can add this to your collection. He leans in, eyes glinting. You won't be hearing from the Franken Gang for a while. Let's just say I picked up a thing or two about their fear of fire from literature. As Fisk waters the plants in his office, he smirks at Victor Creed. See? Told you were being underestimated. I bet old Doc Essex didn't even know you could, read. Creed replies, and then some. Didn't get you all these flowers and shit though. What gives? You leaning into that gardener name after all? Fisk grins. Hey, screw it. They want to call me the gardener behind my back. F it, I'll be the gardener. His eyes settle on a particular pot. Besides, I find it all relaxing. The planting, the watering. It calms me down, especially my newest addition. Have a drink, Brick. He pours water over the severed head of Brick Barton, his rival, stuck upside down in a flower pot. There's a brutal irony to the ritual, nurturing his deceased rival, knowing he will never grow. As far as vengeance goes, it's not just well thought out, it's diabolical. Sabertooth responds, hey, whatever makes you happy, Chief. I'll tell you what ain't making me happy though. This Dix clown running his mouth. He's been non-stop in the bugle about the gang violence in the Points, bringing a lot of attention we don't want. Should I take care of him? Fisk waves off the concern. Let him blow his complaints out his ascot. He can't do a damn thing to stop us, and clipping him will only bring more attention from Tammany Hall. We really don't. A sudden crash cuts him off. Glass shatters, window pane erupts, and in its place stands a vicious alligator man. Could this be a predecessor to Gator? Bart Buckle? Hissing, the alligator man readies for confrontation. Victor snarls, what the f Who the hell is this guy? With a fierce crack of his muscular alligator tail, Sabertooth is sent flying across the room, crashing into a mirror with a slam. Glass shatters everywhere. As Gator squares off with Fisk, Fisk mutters, well, that ain't good. Without hesitation, he hurls the flower pot containing Brick Barton's severed head towards Gator. Here, Brick, make yourself useful for once. Then as Gator catches the head in his jaws with a sickening crunch, Fisk adds, or not, as Gator then devours Fisk's trophy, advancing on Fisk, who's backed against a table. Fisk grabs for anything nearby. His fingers luck out on a hefty pair of gardening shears. He warns Gator, stay back. I've been known to take a testicle or two with this thing, which is a dark reminder of how he had ended up in the Ravencroft Institute for the Criminally Insane. Unfazed, Gator grabs Fisk across the chest and throat with his large, scaly hands. Fisk, barely able to breathe, defiantly gasps. If crocodile men actually have testicles, that is. I'll be sure to take a gander next time I visit your family at the Bronx Zoo. Gator lunges to bite Fisk, but Fisk blocks with the gardening shears. In an instant, Gator overpowers him, snapping the shears in its jaws. Defenseless and facing certain death, Fisk raises his hands to shield himself from the next terrifying bite. He exclaims, it looks like Brick ain't gonna be the only one who ends up losing his head. That's when Sabertooth attacks from behind, shouting in response to Fisk, hey, as he slashes viciously at the Gator's armored backside. Who knows what tomorrow brings, he continues as he draws a pained roar from the creature. With Sabertooth's claws at the ready, he unleashes a series of ripping strikes, slashing twice at the creature's chest, blood spraying through the air. The third, a vicious uppercut, rips at the Gator's jaw with terrible force as Victor finishes, but not today, as the Gator is sent crashing through the window, plummeting to the streets below. As Victor helps Fisk to his feet, he asks, okay, I repeat, who the hell was that guy? The pair stare out of the broken window, looking down to the street below. Fisk responds, whoever he was, he's gone. Ain't no sign of him at all down there. Victor questions, how? Nothing that big could move that fast. Fisk responds, forget the how for the moment. Who, or more precisely, what was he? Victor looks back at Fisk saying, gotta figure, with the way I've been causing calamity among the gangs, it was only a matter of time before they sent in a ringer. With a stern look, Fisk replies, if it's one gang, that's bad news. But I'll tell you what's worse. Bending down to salvage a bush, Fisk continues, if it ain't just one gang, if they're all organizing against us, if for the first time ever, the gangs are finally teaming up and they sent that reject from Barnum and Bailey's to take us out, then that ain't just bad sports page news. As we now move to a scene in Chinatown above a restaurant called the Mandarin, he continues, that very well may be bad obituary news. Inside the Mandarin, a meeting is underway with all the gang bosses of old New York. Hooks, a boss from the Franken gang says, addressing the room, all of us now, the whole f***ing gang, haven't had a chance to collect new hands yet because the bastards slice them off us all so fast. So yeah, we all got hooks now, like we're auditioning for that play with the flying brat. The Shocker gang boss responds, that's nothing. He murdered my cousin, then went to his house and killed his dog too. Who does that? Pets ain't even safe now. Another boss chimes in, you don't want to know what he did to my dog. The Sons of New Amsterdam boss breaks through the rabble, exclaiming, enough! We're not here to discuss what the bastard's done already. We're here to discuss what we're gonna do about him now. An unseen voice interrupts, you mean what I'm gonna do about him now? That remains to be seen, another boss snaps. We ain't hired you yet. I mean, right now, you're just a chippy with a rap from a place I've never heard of. Kunlun, the voice interrupts again. And where the f*** is that? The Franken gang boss frustratedly interjects. Sounds made up, like Neverland or something. How do we know you can do the job? A flaming kunai sinks into the boss's chest so fast as if it was from nowhere. As it quickly sets him ablaze, the voice responds, proof enough? As the voice is revealed to belong to a brand new character to the 616 universe, Dragonfire. As she spins another flaming kunai around her finger, she continues, or do I have to set the lot of you on fire too? The Sons of New Amsterdam boss responds with an ominously satisfied grin. We'll pass. Thanks anyway, Dragonfire. You're hired. This is sixxgoblin. Thanks for sticking with us to the end. Part 3 comes soon, so stay tuned for regular long form and shorts content based on the heroes and villains we all love. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It makes a huge difference for the channel. And don't forget to ring that notification bell so you're the first to know when we drop something new.